everyone, it's Di here from Di's Den and welcome to another Sunday video. This time I'm going to do this beautiful card using the Sunrise Sailing set. Now I made this card, I made this card in June, so the video is actually in June, but it will be a July video before my dad's birthday because he was turned 92 then. So this is a 6x6 card and it lays flat like this to go into a 6x6 envelope, and it's just really gorgeous. I saw this done, I saw it on Pinterest. It was by a lady from either France or Germany, somewhere where I couldn't understand the language, so I sort of had to put it together how I thought. I watched her video but I couldn't understand what she was saying or any of the measurements. So this is my version. It stands up beautifully. As I say, it folds down into a nice 6x6 to go into an envelope. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to do another one exactly the same. She used designer series paper here, but I didn't have any designer series paper that would look like this. So I'm actually going to show you how I did mine for this area here. Okay, so let's pop that out of the way and let me show you what you need. Now, I've cut my piece, some of my pieces out already. That's for my boat. So I've actually cut out, when we're using this set here, I've actually cut out the birds, which are these little black bits, the small, where are they? They're all over here. So I've cut out the birds, the two small clouds, so got 3 birds on that thing and 2 small clouds, and then the smallest of the boats, because there's actually 3 boat sizes there, the big boat which we're going to cut out later, and this one here that will go on to that. So that's is cut out already. So let me pop all of those bits over on the side. I've got the die out ready because once we've stamped this boat we will actually cut it out, but we're not there yet. Okay, so we're going to use Best Wishes for the front instead of Happy Birthday out of that set. We're also going to be using the hybrid embossing folder, so I will be doing that on my big shot, which is just there by the side of me. It's on a trolley so I can't take it off. The lady did hers with the newest version of the Seaside Expressions, which is the waves, but I had this older version and I didn't see the point in me buying another one that looked virtually the same, so I'm using that older version. But if you've got the newer version, that's fine. And then I'm out of this Country Birdhouse, I'm using Hoping You Have the Best Day Ever. So when I did my dad's card here, I put Dad on the front and I used the Pattern Play. This came with all these alphabet dies and I used those alphabet dies to put my name on that, put Dad on there for that. So that's what we're using. Let me put that up there because we're going to need that in there. So, and I'm going to be using a lot of ink because I'm going to do my stamping in Night of Navy. So that's fine. Let's pop that just there. But to make my background here, I'm going to be using Balmy Blue with Crushed Curry, Soft Sea Foam, Flirty Flamingo and Pretty Peacock. So we will be using all of those and I will show you how I've done them. But before we get to that, let's show you what you need. Now I have actually already embossed these pieces, so when we get there I'll show you what we need for those. Okay, so for our main card we're going to need a piece that measures 6 inches by 10 3/8 of an inch. And then for our little box piece on the front, we need another piece that is 2 inches by 5 inches. Now, for my layers, for my I'll bring my card in so I'll show. For my layers here, you're going to need one piece that measures 5 3/4 by 1 3/4 and 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. Now, if you've got designer series paper, I have the measurements there, which are 5 1/2 by 1 1/2 and 5 1/2 by 3 1/2. But because I'm going to actually be doing my picture out of this piece, I have a piece that is 5 inches wide by 5 1/2 inches long. So just make sure you get that round the right way if you're going to do that. Just put it up against that so you can see which way around that goes. Okay, so that's for that. For my box piece here, you're going to need a piece that measures 1 3/4 by 3 3/8, and another piece that measures 1 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. And then you're going to need for down. Oh, this piece fell in part. Never mind. I will actually turn you off in a minute and cut another one of that. For these pieces here, you're going to need a piece that measures 3/4 of an inch by 5 3/4 of an inch. So I will cut another one of those in a moment. So we'll do that in a second. Oh, my watch has come off here. There we go. And then, so let's pop that there. Then we will need, for the writing panel, which is on the back, you're going to need a piece that measures 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. Now for your sentiment here, which I'm going to put in the middle on this one, it depends on the length and the width of the sentiment to how much you need. So I've got a little piece of card here that measures 5/8 of an inch by 3 1/4 inches. So that should be plenty for them. So let's move those out of the way too. And then for my boat that I'm cutting out, I've got just another piece of scrap which measures 5 1/2 by 3 3/4 of an inch. So that's that. So that's all the bits we're going to need. I'm going to pop this out of the way and I'm just going to switch you off for 2 seconds while I go and cut that piece. Okay, all done. Got another piece already cut now. So when you cut these, you're going to need to have, that one looks a lot narrower than that one, doesn't it? But it's not, it's the same width. Okay, so you're going to need to have these so that these pieces, when you pop them in your folder, will go along that way, because we want to have our waves going the correct way, and that one will go that way, and these long ones will go long ways along there like so. So that is the way we're going to pop them in this embossing folder. Okay, so let's move that out of the way. Let's move all these out of the way, and those bits are just what I had to cut those out. So to cut those out, if you're using the same set, you need a piece that is about 3 by 2 1/2, and this was just a piece of scrap which is in the oh, whatever that colour's called, 1 inch by 3 1/4, and that's that C something or other. I can't remember. Oh, that's not good, is it? Okay, so we're going to start by scoring our pieces, and then we will do our picture background. So let's pop them all on one side. So we need to pop them out. So we need these 2 pieces in first, which is our main card and our little front box card piece. And we're going to score them to start off with. Okay. So we're going to score this main one. Let me bring this down here because I need it. At 3/8 of an inch, which is the third little mark. And we're going to be using the small ball because we're actually on cardstock. So 3/8 of an inch, 1 3/8 of an inch, so 1 3/8 of an inch, 3 3/8 of an inch, and 4 3/8 of an inch. So that will give us a piece. This piece on the other side here is exactly 6 inches by 6 inches then. Okay, and then we're going to score this other piece the smaller bit, at 3 5/8 of an inch. That's 1 marker past the half that way, and 4 5/8 of an inch. So that gives you a 3/8 of an inch, just little tab on the end. So we're going to pop them on one side now, because we don't want them for a moment. Let's pop them over there. And we're going to bring in, well, that board fell on the floor. I'm going to bring in just a piece of scrap and my 5 1/2, what is it? My 5 1/2 by 5. So we want the 5 1/2 inch to be the height. We're going to pop this onto there because I don't want to mess this pad up. And we're going to bring in our brushes. Now my brushes are from a different company because I had these before Stampin' Up bought theirs in, so I was not going to go and buy any extras. Okay, now I've marked them all because I've used them with those colours before, so I'm going to mark them so I can show you exactly what I'm going to be doing. So I'm bringing in all my inks, and we're going to start off with our Balmy Blue. And we have our Balmy Blue one here, so let's pop my little letter down there. I'm going to give this a bit of a wipe through, and we're going to bring this in. I'm going to do the top of my card like so. Sounds like it's raining outside. Don't worry about whether or not it's enough or not yet, because we can come back in after. So I've done that one, and now I'm going to bring in my crushed curry. So here's my one with crushed curry written on it. And I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to bring that in underneath it. So I'm just going to put that bit in there. I will go back with some of these. So let's pop that one on there. And then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do my Pretty Peacock next, which is this one, I believe. Yep, there's my Pretty Peacock letter. Keep saying number and it's a letter. Oops. Yep, it's raining outside. Now it doesn't matter how deep or not it is. That's entirely up to you. So I'm going to leave that as that for now. Pop my number letter back on there, and I'm going to do my Pretty Peacock, Flirty Flamingo next, and I'm just going to pop that on there, and once again I'm bringing that in. And I'm happy with how that looks. You can put in as much or as little as you like. There's no right or wrong. And then I'm going to finish off with soft sea foam for the middle, and just to give it a little bit of extra. Just that green, you can bring it in and pop it through the middle. And put some into the ocean, which is the darker one, so that it looks a bit more greeny in the ocean. Once you're happy with the way that looks, I think it needs a little bit of pinking up there. So I'm going to pop that back, and I'm going to bring in a Pretty Peacock. So let's pop that. By doing that, I can then see what ones I'm using and not over contaminate them. Just a little bit of red in the sky, not a lot, just enough so that you can say, oh yeah, it's a nice red sky. And a little bit more into the middle here. So I'm happy with the way that's looking, like so. So I'm going to pop them all the way out of the way and pop my letters back on them, so I can take them inside and wash them all then. And I know that they're all done. Okay, so we've got our piece that is the 5.5 inches high, and once again just double check. Yep, we've got it 5.5 inches high. So now we need to cut this down. So I'm going to bring in my my trimmer, and I'm going to cut this so that there's 5.5 inches this way is the length, and I'm going to turn it to the 5-inch side, which is the width, and I'm going to cut this piece at 1.5 inches, because I want my picture to look like it goes along, so I want to cut 1.5 inches off of this side. Oh, excuse me. So this will leave me with another piece that is the 3.5 inches. Okay, so we've done that. I'm going to pop that down there. I'm just going to pick my board up in case my husband decides to wander in, which he does from time to time, so that he doesn't step on it. So I'm going to bring in, here it is, my embossing folder, and I'm going to emboss these in 2 sections because I want this boat to be in the middle. So we need this to be on the top. We need to be able to see that this line, this last line of C, is down there. I'm going to bring that down just so that it's right at the edge of that C there. That way my boat looks like it's more on there and there's a little bit more sky up there. So when I'm happy with that, that's virtually centered in this 3.5 inch by 5.5 inch piece. I'm going to run that through my embossing machine. Don't you fall on the floor. And I have that first piece embossed like so. Then I want this piece to be more over this side, so I want to make sure that I've got these ocean pieces at the same height. So I'm going to pop that one in there now, and I'm going to pop that through my machine. Like so, and now I have my 2 pieces that are embossed. Now if you were doing this with designer series paper and you had paper that looks similar to that and you wanted to just emboss that, you can do that too. But as I don't, I wanted to do mine so that it looked good. So as you can see, it's a little bit different colouring to the last one, but that's fine because everyone is going to be different. Okay. So we'll pop that one out of the way. Let's move them up there and that over there. Okay, so we're going to bring in our main card now, and we're going to fold and burnish this. So we're going to start at the last line, which is the 4 3/8 line, and fold that over so that we know that it's straight on both sides. And we're going to fold and burnish that. Then we're going to fold the next one in and making sure once again that it's straight on both sides. I'm going to fold and burnish that. And then the next one, again the same. And then the very last one. So once we've done that, we know that this card is going to fold around like this to form a nice box shape like so. So we can now put our glue along this edge here. So we can pop our glue along this edge. And then we're going to close this over so that we are at, not that one, because if we bring this part in, we want it to be able to close right under there, so we need that to be open that way, okay? So we need to push this, the first line here, the 4 3/8 line, we need to push that next line, the 3 3/8 line, back towards our left hand side, so that when we push this one down and fold it down and making sure it's nice and even at the top and the bottom, and we cut that down this way, when it opens it will be correct. So at the 4 3/8 line, go to the next line along, which is a 3 3/8 line, push it to your left hand side, then put your little one underneath, and that will give you that box shape like so. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our other pieces, which are these 4 pieces, sorry. We're going to glue our little strips that look like ocean shapes to one on the inside here and one on the outside there. So we can pop a bit of glue on this, and this one's leaking all over the place again like it was once before. That's because it's been cold and now it's warm in here, as I have the heater on. Okay, so let's push this over towards your right, so we can pop this one on the end like so. And then we're going to do the same on the one on the inside there. So let's pop some glue onto this one. I'm going to wipe this glue onto this one, because we might as well use it up rather than let it go to waste. And we're going to glue this one onto the inside one. Oops, we need to push that up a tiny bit. There we go. We have it in place. So we have our 2 panels on the side, which are the 3/4 of an inch by 5 3/4 of an inch with our pattern on them. If you don't want to put them there, that's fine. I just think that just sort of sets it off and gives it that same look. So now we have our 2 pieces of card that measure 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 and 5 3/4 by 1 3/4. So this smaller one, this 5 1/2 by 1 1/2 will sit on that piece, and our other one will be the one that sits the 5 1/2 by 3 1/2 piece onto that one. So we're going to glue those onto those. Oh, so itchy eye. I'm going to turn it over and just give it a quick wipe over so that we know it's stuck down nicely. I'm going to glue this one onto this one. So happy with those? We're then going to glue those onto that panel there and this one here, like so. So we'll glue those on next. So the small panel, the 1 1/2 3/4 inch one, will go onto the front of the box piece. And then our other one will go onto our centre section. Well, it's not really a centre, is it? Our right hand side piece. I can't believe how much this glue is actually plurping out at the moment. So I'm going to push that back out of the way so I've got it to lay down nicely like so. So once again I'm going to just give that a good push over. Okay, so that's our main piece of our card. Before we do the rest of it, I'm going to do my back panel, my writing panel on the back. Only because it's easier to do it before we put all those pieces on because we don't want to put these all on here and then you've got lots of extra bulk in the way to do that. So I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to need the white piece and our Night of Navy, and I'm going to stamp my words. Oops, no, I had them up the right way the first time. Hope you have the best day ever. Close that up. Oops, stand up you. Turn that over. Pop some glue onto the back of that and glue it to the other layer. And then I'm going to glue that to the back of the card. So making sure that this piece is folded that way you'll know that you've got it up the correct way. And we're going to pop this onto the back of the card like so. So that's the back of our card done. We can then give that a nice squish down. I don't want to go over the ink at the moment because Night of Navy takes a little bit longer to dry. Okay, so we've got our main piece of our card like so. So now we're going to bring in our other piece of card and we're going to fold and burnish this the same as we did this one. So we're going to fold at the second line first and then at the little line after. For me, we know that this is going to go on here like so, and it's just easier to put these two pieces on before you pop this onto the front of the card. So I'm going to glue these pieces onto here. So this small piece is going to go onto this section here, that tiny 1-inch section of the card. Like so. And then the larger one is going to go in here. Now if you wanted to put borders around it, you could. I just don't think it needed it. I think it just looked good without the borders. So let's get those off my fingers. But that was just me. As I say, there's no right or wrong, so if you wish to put a border around it, you can. Okay, so we've done that, and now what we're going to do is we know that that's got to fit on there like that. So I'm going to actually turn it around the other way, like so, and I'm going to pop that down flat. It doesn't matter which way, you can pop it down flat that way or the other way, and then I'm going to make sure that it's level with the bottom and this side here. And I'm just going to use my pencil to draw a line across there so that I know that I don't put my glue any further than that line. You can just see that line. It doesn't matter if you can't see it because, oops, we're going to glue up to it and you won't see that line there with the pencil once this is onto the front of the card. So now we're going to bring that up and we're going to pop that onto there, making sure that it is flush with the left hand side and the bottom of the card. Once you're happy with how it is flush, you can check it that way, it's better, because you can see that that's flush there and you can see that it's flush on the bottom of the card, and we've given that a good squish down like so. Then we're going to bring this one in, we're going to do exactly like we did before. We're going to glue that down like that so that when that comes open, it's going to be open. So it will glue down like this and it will open like so. So we're going to pop some glue onto this little tab piece. And we're going to fold that under and we're going to make sure that the bottom of the card and the bottom of this other piece are flush with each other. And we're happy with that. We're going to then press that down. We're going to lift that up and we can press down on the inside just to make sure it's in the right spot. We can push it that way to make sure that it's in the right spot as well. So we've got our main card done. So we're going to bring in our other pieces like so. Alright, let's pop this out of the way for a second. So we are going to glue these two pieces together at this part of the sail. We're going to pop some glue onto that sail and then glue that so that it matches up with that one. I think it needs to go over a tiny bit so that that's in line there. And I'm just going to leave that to sit there like so. I've also got my two clouds and my three birds. So I'm going to stamp my other two pieces now with Night of Navy once again. So I'm going to stamp this piece and then I will actually cut this to size. So this piece is going to be, I'm going to bring it up to the edge here. And I've got my best wishes on there. And I will cut that once that's dry. So now I'm going to actually stamp my boat. I've put on this piece of card, boat, so that I knew what that piece was. And I'm going to stamp my boat on here. I'm happy with that way. That looks beautiful. So, oops, pop that back over there. Now I'm going to bring in the pieces of the billowing parts of the sails. I'm going to stamp those. Now this piece, you need to, this part of this side of this sail lines up with this edge here. So you need to pop it in there so you can see that that does. And then the second part of the billowing will line up with this line here. So you pop it in there so you can see where it's doing that. Once you're happy with that, you can pop it down. And you have your billowing clouds. Sails. Clouds. I don't know, where was my mind? Okay, so then we're going to bring in our other die. And we're going to cut this one out. So I'm just going to bring this over. Ouch! I hit my head on the lamp. And I'm going to bring this all in. Change the pieces. Come on, get in place. Thank you. Okay, so I've cut out my boat. You could have used a smaller bit of card, but it doesn't really matter for me at the moment. So I finished with that die now. So it's just a matter of doing the thing, the decorating. So I'm going to bring this in, and I'm actually going to cut this on this angle like this rather than straight to pop on the front of my card. So I'm going to bring in some dimensionals, which are underneath all of the inks. So I'm going to pop a couple of dimensionals on the back of this piece. Now I haven't got any embellishments to put on this one because I'm not sure who I'm going to give it to yet. So depending on who I'm going to give it to, I have an idea who, but I'm not 100% sure. So we've got our little saying right in the middle there, like so. I'm going to put some little dimensionals on this one. And I'm going to cut one of these small ones in half. to put on the bottom of the boat. This is just a little bit difficult. There you go, that's life. Alright, so I've done that, and I'm going to pop that boat on this left hand side here, just so that he's in the ocean, like so. So he's sitting up there, that tiny bit. This boat is going to go over the top of the other one. So before we do that, we want to see where we want these clouds. So I'm going to pop my clouds like so, and I'm going to pop this one out and put a bit of glue on it. And then I can pop him back in roughly there, like so. So when I pop that over the top, you can see that cloud's behind there. This cloud here, I don't want it all the way under. I only want it to be under a tiny bit. So I'm actually going to cut a little bit off that edge, just like that. Then I can pop that so that it's up flush with the edge of there, and it will be on behind this one. Okay, so let's put this on here, and I'll put this behind this boat, flush up against this edge here, so that it doesn't look like it's over the edge of the boat. And we're going to bring in some more dimensionals now, and we're going to pop these onto the back of the boat. Use the small ones along the bottom. One in the middle there. I think I'm going to put one up the top here as well. Okay, because I don't like things that sag. I don't know if you've noticed that over the years. So I think if it sags, it's sad. So let's pop them off, and I'm going to then pop this boat. Oh, that one's still got one on there. You can still see that one on there. I'm going to pop this boat directly over the top of our embossed image. By doing that, we've got all the lovely embossing for everything else, but we don't need to see the boat. But we wanted it in the middle so that we knew that it was there. Okay, so all we've got left to do now is put our little birds on. So I'm going to grab my little back to front tweezers and put a little bit of glue on these, and I'm going to pop one over here. Pop this one on as well. Just make sure if you're using these, you watch which way around they go. Because you will notice that they are beveled on one side and flat on the other, so you want the beveled side up. And one more bird just up here. Okay, so that's my card for today. Let me put my pin in my glue. What do you think? I think it is absolutely beautiful. I might find some nice embellishments to put on them. They do look a little bit different because of the colourings are a tiny bit different. I put white birds on this one. I think the black birds look a bit better. They look like they're in the distance better. I put a little bit of grey on these clouds, but I think these white ones look really good. So if you've enjoyed today's card and you would like the written tutorial for this, head down here to Di's Den for Stamping, Crafting and Tutorials. That's my Facebook group. There you'll find the written tutorial for this project. You can, as I say, I will put the measurements, when I do write the thing out, this is my copy, I will put the measurements for each of these pieces, and then in brackets I will put the measurements for the whole piece. So if you're doing like what I did there, it will show, you will know what to do. So, but I will put that at the very bottom. I will put layer 1 to option 1, like layer 2 option 1, layer 2 option 2. So you will know which one to choose, whichever one you're doing. I think it's a lovely card. I'm sure my dad's going to love that, and I'm pretty sure whoever gets this card is going to like it. And if you've enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. I love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any of my videos. Plus it does help me build my channel and get out there to more people. So I look forward to seeing you all again next week. So bye for now.